You may know this, but today, when this video is being released, there is going to be a Swarmer rework. This was suggested in the v1.61.0 update log saying revamped Swarmer Tower, and then they also mentioned the WJ mission quest, but that was added next week after this update was released on v1.62.0. So the Swarmer rework is going to come out for v1.63.0. Little has officially been said about the Swarmer rework until now, because Tower Defense Simulator or Paradoxum Games has posted a new video on YouTube called the Swarmer rework, and here you can see the Swarmer Tower, the revamped Swarmer Tower, attacking Nerd Duck. It looks like it has a honey gun here and then a beehive here. Bearing in mind it uses a beehive in the original tower model as a beehive grenade to shoot at an enemy, and then it creates a massive explosion, or not really that massive, but it affects all enemies in that range with damage, but also applies the B effect to them. Now granted, the Swarmer Tower is looking a little bit dated when it comes to its model, and this version does appear to update it to be more modern. The Swarm of the version that's seen in the game hasn't been updated since 2020 when this was first added. The only update that has happened is that its skin has changed from yellow to more tan in the overhaul update when all towers changed their skin color. However, the main fundamentals of the Swarmer has not changed, so it's basically untouched model-wise since 2020, and effectively feature-wise it's been untouched since 2020 as well. I mean, there have been multiple statistical changes to this, but that's more bug fixes to the Swarmer, whereas this update should fix all of that. However, this trailer premieres in 19 hours, aka 1 hour before the update actually releases. So other than the thumbnail, we can't actually speculate on what the Swarmer is going to be about, or the Swarmer rework. We only know from the description that the Swarmer will be finally returning to Tower Defense Simulator with a fresh new look, and yeah, he smacked Nerd Duck in the thumbnail. Kinda implies that Swarmer will be returning to Tower Defense Simulator, meaning that it is likely going to be a Game Pass released for the Swarmer Tower. Bear in mind that the Swarmer Game Pass has not been sold for 4 years at this point. Well, 5 years. 4 years and like 12 months, basically. Wait, no, 5 years. I don't know why it says last updated 4 years ago on... Oh, wait, yeah, because that was when it was taken off sale, May 26th. As you can see, this was at a time period when sales were actually being tracked. So we actually do have the total sales for the Swarmer Game Pass, but obviously once this Game Pass is going to get reused, this therefore means that the Swarmer Game Pass is no longer going to be that exclusive. Now, back in the day, it was 350 Robux. I'd assume that being so long ago, the developers would probably increase the price for the Swarmer to at least 600 Robux, 599 Robux. Wouldn't surprise me if they go for 699, but I think 599 Robux is the more likely price for the Swarmer. Also, I am assuming that they're going to reuse this Game Pass, the original Game Pass ID that they have for this, because in the past, when they have resold towers, they have gone for the original Game Pass. So, for example, the Archer Game Pass, they accidentally made a new Archer Game Pass saying ignore this Game Pass, but then they realized, oh wait, we could just reuse the Archer Tower Game Pass that was sold back in 2020. So here, on April 15th, it cost 350 Robux, then 400 Robux in Black Friday 2020, then 2023 500, and then 2025 599. You can see the steady increase in the price for the Archer. So I wonder if this will extrapolate to the Swarmer, given the fact that back in 2020 it was also being sold for 350 Robux as a sale, obviously, not as the main event tower. So I would assume that given the Archer Tower was sold in 2025 for 599 Robux, the Swarmer Tower probably will be sold for 599 Robux. That's where my justification for the Swarmer costing 599 Robux comes from. Obviously, the Game Pass icon will have to be updated. This will all just be updated as well. And because you need to have the Game Pass like or dislike this is going to go out of whack. So it's 269 thumbs up, 331 downvotes. This is important because this is how I extrapolated revenue from other Game Passes based on how much revenue this Game Pass got compared to likes to dislikes. I need to keep a record of this before this Game Pass gets sold again. Also assuming that, yes, it is going to get sold, but given the fact that there's a lot of money to be made from this, I think it will be sold. Now, as for the rework itself, what can we infer from this thumbnail? So it throws a beehive and it does have a honey gun in its left hand. So it seems like it might have two abilities at the same time. So may be able to shoot honey at enemies while also being able to throw a beehive at enemies. Now obviously this could be an ability for throwing the beehive, much like the ability for the Swarmer Tower before this update, but given the fact that, for example, the Biologist Tower does have technically 3 main attacks, I wouldn't be surprised if the Swarmer has like at least 2 methods of attacks, that being the beehive grenade, which you can swap out between, or the beehive gun. Also, we don't know if this is max level or not. I would assume that this is max level, because at max level previously, the Swarmer did get a brown suit compared to a white suit previously, but there's no inferring whether or not that this is the max level or not. I'm just assuming that it is. In other news, we are 3.998 billion visits. So actually, we will reach 4 billion visits probably exactly once the Swarmer rework actually occurs. So yeah, once the Swarmer rework update happens, we will reach 4 billion visits, or close enough to that update. I don't think Below Natural is going to set anything to celebrate this, given the fact that he already thinks that we have 4 billion visits, but nice to know that 4 billion visits will be reached soon. In new like watch news, as you can see here, we're still getting around 1,000 likes per day. Here's only 666, the devil's number. I don't know why Tuesdays always seem to be like a low point for Tower Defense Simulator. I really can't explain why. Because Monday, it's similar to the other days, but then Tuesday, there's always a lull. I don't know why this is the case. I can't explain why Tuesdays are normally the worst days for Tower Defense Simulator. But the like percentage is increasing ever so slightly. There is a dip for the Duck Hunt event, but on the grand scheme of things, it's barely noticeable. I still think it's going to take a while for the PMC Pursuit to reach 2 million like goals. But that is what the developers intended. Otherwise, they wouldn't have reduced it to any other number. So if they wanted it to be reached sooner, they would have reduced it down to like 1.8 or 1.9 million. Still, given the fact that I assume that they want this to be reached in like 2 to 3 months, I think this is a little bit optimistic. 2 million likes? I don't think it's going to happen. Also, no word on when the Ducky Revenge event actually ends. Yes, the Revenge Battle Pass does end in 42 days. However, typically the event does end before the Battle Pass ends. That was the case for Operation Ice. It ended around 3 to 4 weeks before the Battle Pass ended. As you can see here in V1.49.0, whereas I believe the Battle Pass lasted all the way until like Game Master update. So while this ends in 6 weeks, I don't think the event will last 6 more weeks. In fact, if you ask me, I think the event will last 28 more days, given the fact that the timer for the Ducky Went Down to Georgia is 28 days. Now, that is 4 weeks, not the 6 weeks seen here, so I would assume that the event ends in 4 weeks' time. So you actually still do have plenty of time. It's just not the 6 weeks that's the Battle Pass affords you. So there is going to be a 2-week discrepancy between the end of the event and the end of the Battle Pass again. This is going to confuse a lot of players, and people will probably be up in arms saying that why did you end the event and not end the Battle Pass? Developers have always done this, but I just don't think the community likes it, which is why they always complain about it every year when they do this. But the event is still staying around, at least for 4 weeks. There is nothing to complain about. Yes, this would have to actually last for, the event would have to last for 4 weeks, given the fact that one of the objectives for the DJ Booth Ducky skin does involve you playing the event, and it'll be impossible to complete this quest without that. I'll say impossible, you can just buy the contract, but the last time that this happened, people didn't buy the contract. I'm talking about the Core Blocks, is it Necromancer skin or Electroshock skin? In any case, it was one of the new Core Blocks skins which was added, where there was an objective that required you to beat the Core Blocks hunt, and people got the contract, but they couldn't get past it unless they bought it with Robux. But very few players did, unless they wanted to showcase it. And in the end, it was a glitch anyway, so they just removed it until the event was actually officially released. All to say that players, if there is an impossible quest, they still want to use Robux to skip it.